Good afternoon, everyone. Record food prices sweep the planet again. Eggs wholesale $6.50 a dozen, and all these things that are about to increase 25% as the tariffs take hold. Let's take a look at how expensive it's going to become through the summer of 2025. Starting you off here, USDA extra large egg prices. This is to the warehouse from the farm. And then the supermarket is going to add its take on top of that, which is going to put you well over $7 a dozen, depending which state you're in. Highest recorded ever, but it looks like the highest of those high prices is the Southeast U.S., South Central, somewhere around there. That's because this is where the center of poultry and egg production is across the U.S. It disappears there first, instant shocks until it reaches you because there's already some in the flow going out, but your shortages are coming. Oh wait, they're already here, temporarily out of stock. Eggs, Trader Joe's. Limit of 2 egg cartons per customer. We've seen this 2022 also. It looks like we're just repeating another chapter of history. Egg supply update. Only the most expensive eggs are still in the case. So let's do an egg history lesson. Egg prices tracked back to at least 1980. Get this, grade A eggs, 88 cents a dozen. I remember when it was under $1. And generally stayed below $2 all the way until March 2016 and then 2022. Remember with the entire planet locked down, we hit all-time prices of $4.82 a dozen. And that happened in January of 2023. And we did see some pullback, although egg prices up 37% this year. And that 415/480 at the highest prices is now at the 665 level. So this is going to continue as there are less chickens across the U.S. I think they culled 100 million birds. But that last sentence here, food prices overall just rose 2.5% in the last year. That is unbelievable for me that can even be put in print with a straight face. You're telling me 2.5% inflation on food? I am not buying that at all. They're going to have to do different calculations or maybe even put some batteries in the calculator. Well, the IMF's there to back them up too. They're like, oh, there's other things going on besides the farm pricing. Fertilizer price shocks, oil price shocks, 3-month treasury bill shocks, harvest shocks. So they're trying to say that all these things added in on top of are creating now increased food prices. Never was a problem before the lockdowns, but now it suddenly is a problem every single month after that. So what broke during that time in 2022 is the question, because me living in Tennessee, this is the kind of news we're getting regional, is Georgia's culling a huge amount of birds. They're saying the best friend forever is down around the poultry farms, and they are vast and never ending as you drive through the countryside. So the Georgia Department of Agriculture has ceased all exports of birds, and they culled a huge bunch. There's no egg either. Stop those exports of eggs. And Georgia's a major producer of meat, birds, and eggs. So you're going to see this start to dry up off the shelves almost immediately. Another week or two, and you're going to see it everywhere across the U.S. So $14.99 for a dozen here is one of the highest prices seen so far. Is it a warning sign? Yes, it is. We saw that shortage / customer 1 or 2 per person 2022. Now we're seeing these prices just skyrocket. Look at this, $9.19 for 1 dozen eggs. Now in that middle there, the organic section's $13.99 for a dozen. I think that would be left on the shelf. People would buy around that. That's getting to a price point where a lot of people are saying no. A cutting-edge 2024 study reveals nearly half of all adults in the United States have high blood pressure. According to the CDC, only about 1 in 4 adults have their blood pressure under control, putting millions of people like you and me at risk of heart disease and stroke. It might seem like an uphill battle, but taking control of your heart health doesn't have to be complicated. That's why I started using this natural product to help manage my blood pressure. It's a triple action formula packed with clinically proven all-natural ingredients like white mulberry leaf and cinnamon bark powder. This powerful formulation is designed to support balanced blood sugar levels and healthy weight like nothing else out there. And thousands like myself wouldn't go a day without it. Do your body a favor and grab it today while it's 40% off during their holiday special only at boostwith2030.com. That's boostwith2030.com. Plus, order today and your delivery will be rushed at no additional cost. Once again, that's boostwith2030.com. Click on that link in the description box below. Which is the reason maybe you want to have some of your own chicken. I bet places that sell chickens like Rural King are absolutely going to be sold out like the minute those birds arrive, that everybody's going to pull this year and have their own chickens. Because look at that, $9.49 for 12 eggs, cage-free. Just let your birds run around in the field and clean a bunch of insects for you. That's cage-free and almost organic themselves, as long as you're not spraying your grass. $14.99 for 18 eggs. Still, if you take that dozen and get the other half, you're at well above $7 for that. And then we get the just regular white egg. That's the farm-raised ones there, $7.99. So this brings us back into some sort of normalcy again, but I am sure those prices are going to rise with a quickness. And then just think about all the products that are made with eggs that also find their way to a supermarket shelf. What about the bread? Any kind of processed foods. So everywhere you look, there's eggs in something usually. So that's going to knock on for a little bit of pricing, and a little bit of pricing over a lot of items adds up to, well, substantially more. Might be 10 cents more here, 5 cents more here, 30 cents more there, and you buy 100 items and then wait, how did that price go up so much for all of my food? This is what we're starting to deal with here, and a lot of people are using credit cards now to buy food. They're rolling over their balances to buy food. So at the point when they're no longer able to use their credit cards to purchase food, this is when we in our society start to have a huge problem. It only takes about 15% of a population to disrupt when something goes wrong with that segment. And we are precariously close right now. Left side, U.S. prices, $9.49 for a dozen. Right side, Canada, $3.93, but the U.S. dollar is stronger than Canadian dollars, so that's probably going to be like, what, $3.70? And now with the tariffs going on, but a lot of people around the world do jump across the border of another nation to go get food where it is cheaper. So this rush of Americans up to Canada to start buying food up there, that might not be an option for many that were relying on that option as well. Something to think about moving forward if you're actually using that and you're living right at the Canadian border and you do go shop up there. What if they say no more Americans are able to buy this, that, or the other product, or you have to pay the extra 25% for the tariffs coming in, and then suddenly that your food budget that was affordable once is now, well, you're going to start pinching the pennies. So look for that kind of strangeness on the periphery there. Now, across the world, prices are going up for everything, and off of Eurostat here, inflation rate for butter, this is December of 2024, about Czech Republic pushing, what, 43% increase? So then we come all the way down to Romania, which decreased. So that same euro in Romania can get you 10% more butter. But if you're looking over the year, that's quite the substantial increase. It's not 2.5% as it was in America. I just can't believe 2.5%. Because everywhere you look, even just something simple as butter and eggs and flour going up in price. Those are some of the staples. And if we jump over to Nigeria, the price of a bag of local rice rises 152%. That's 1.5 times more expensive. So if it was $1 before, that'd be $2.50. And a lot of people on fixed budgets are not going to be able to afford these price rises in America. It is, in my opinion, going to create a gigantic problem moving forward. So security in South Africa, survey shows food prices soaring above headline inflation. See, that would be the same thing I just pointed out. 2.5%, you're living in a fantasy world. In the real world, things are far more expensive than 2.5% increases on the food. and South Africa's seeing it as well. And on a positive note here, in Spain, year-on-year production increased 40% for the olives. So that means that the prices are coming down. Now, if you're a fan of Spanish extra virgin olive oil like myself and Moroccan extra virgin olive oil, prices are coming down. And over the last couple of years, prices have doubled for olive oil. So if we get some pullback, that would be nice across the board. 40% would be pulling us back into, wow, that's still a significant rise over the last 2 years. But any percentage down is a good percentage down. Now here's another reason that they're going to explain away super high fruit prices or non-availability, in addition to the tariffs, soon to be embargo. But California Fruit Bureau, they're saying that all the workers are, running for the hills, so virtually halting the entire citrus harvest in California. Then we saw the damage in Florida and across the southeast U.S. So the entire citrus industry from Texas all the way to Florida, and you're going to start to look and see orange juice prices, grapefruits, and then any other types of fruits. This will be the excuse why they're not available. And let me quickly run you through what so far is going to be on the tariff schedule here for Mexico on the left and Canada on the right. So for Mexico, we're looking at So for Mexico, we're looking at avocados, tomatoes, bell peppers, and then you got all these fruits here, strawberries, limes, mangoes, blueberries, and this sort of thing. And then you come down, got the shrimp, beef, pork, cheese, tequila. But then on the right side, from Canada, we got eggs and beef and pork. Okay, so those two things that could have been substitutes to get us cheaper food are now going to be 25% more expensive. So that's a non-starter right there. But the interesting thing for me is right in the middle where it says wheat, oats, and barley. Now the oats and barley, we don't generally grow that in the lower 48. That's more of a Canadian type of product. But the wheat, we dominate that in the Midwest there. So anything made of oats or barley is absolutely going to go up in price. And then additionally, if it includes an egg in that, then you're looking at substantial price rises in any kind of like oat bread or any kind of barley products that you're out there consuming. And then potatoes, but we do grow our own here in the States. We'll see how much more local production starts to get used up. But another thing to contend with were those California fires. So the farms themselves weren't damaged, but that cold chain and different storage chain logistics did get hit. So there was a lot of severing at different points across that chain. So ongoing repairs into that. But there was an enormous amount of green veg stranded in the field over the last couple of weeks because A, the workers that were harvesting that, boom, they're gone. And B, the cold storage chain to get that over into market, that was damaged. So the bottlenecks already are occurring in California produce, which is one of the main areas. I think 30% around that number total comes from California in that area. So the bottleneck is already at 30% there. We got these tariffs coming in, which is going to make everything far more expensive. How much can we rely on our own produce again? That's the whole thing. Like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, big potato producers, but in these last years, they've been paid not to produce. So how long is it going to take them to go from zero to production again on farms that have been left idle for a few years? Do they even have the machines up and running again, or are they going to have to repurchase or rent or pay somebody to come in to be able to do the same amount of work? That's another thing to think about. Got at least 100 million birds culled across the U.S. here. That number will probably increase as the best friend forever continues to roll through different states. And if we're already seeing egg shortages and meat shortages or chicken, meat bird shortages, that's just going to continue. And anything that could have alleviated prices to bring in from Mexico or Canada on the other kind of meat sides, that's going to go up too. We're getting on that razor-thin edge of societal instability when people cannot afford their food. Like the use of credit cards, and what happens if the credit cards get cut off or they can't afford food, then you're between a rock and a hard place when your kids are going, Mommy, Daddy, I don't have any food and we're hungry tonight. And then what are you supposed to say to them? What is the person going to say to them? They're not going to accept that. They're going to go into the stores and then get the food any way they can. This is what Mike Adams and myself had talked about a year and a half ago. We're saying that eventually when these food prices start soaring again, they're going to have to station troops in the stores. They're going to have some guards in there to prevent like massive shoplifting. But you got to put it in the perspective. Okay, rules-based order only works as long as the societal contract that kept that food at an affordable price and jobs at a steady rate where people could find employment and safety, as long as that was guaranteed, there's this, contractual, it will behave as long as those are in place. But it seems like a major leg out of the stool is being pulled away. So you take away stable food prices or food availability, that is societal collapse 101, fingerprint across through history of at least the last 2,000 years. That is the number one catalyst for taking down entire governments, czars, kings, queens, emperors. It does not matter. When the food stops or gets too expensive for the just average person to afford it, there's massive change. So is it the change they're looking for to reset the system is the question. And then maybe you can, work back from there and do your own analysis for your own area. And a lot of people are going to go for the chicken. So if you think, hey, I'm just going to walk down and go get my little birds from Rural King or something, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be in a big line. So make sure you start to know your farmers. Maybe you can find somebody who sells birds private. And speaking of that, food talk, I started the community page here on Patreon so I can load some images and graphics, and then we can have a discussion here. So if you're following me on Patreon, that is open. I put up a few posts. There's a bunch of people writing comments in there. I put a few more posts today about these food prices with the non-availability of some items. So join us over there for the conversation, loading a video a week outside the YouTube realms here. Be part of the journey. Subscribe to our Patreon /adapt 2030, and join us on Civilization Cycle, Civ Cycle X, where we take our 2-hour podcast Thursday nights and cut it into bite-sized nuggets, talking about these same issues, because we're all in it together. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.